Chosen one. Hear me carefully. There was a moment in time when the heavens literally halted their motion because you chose to obey. You may not have seen it with your natural eyes, but the shift in the spiritual realm was undeniable. The very instant your heart surrendered in full, all of creation seemed to stand still. You need to understand, heaven does not open for half commitments. The King waits for that rare, costly yes, the one that demands everything. Yours was not a shallow agreement, it was a deep covenant, birthed in pain, pressure, and persistence. And that is why the atmosphere of eternity shifted in your favor. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 19. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good things of the land. Your willingness, paired with obedience, became a key in the unseen. The moment you yielded, invisible chains snapped. The accusations of the enemy lost their grip. A sound rose before the throne, not the sound of your voice, but the sound of obedience itself. In that moment, the King's attention locked onto you. Every sacrifice, every tear shed in secret, every step taken in faith was gathered like a precious offering. The hosts of heaven knew something was unfolding, and the gates began to stir. Light spilled through ancient hinges that have been shut for years, waiting for this very instant. Do not underestimate what has just occurred. Your act of obedience has rewritten your spiritual position. What was once delayed is now being released. Where there was resistance, there will be acceleration. And this is not just about blessings coming to you. This is about assignments being entrusted to you. The Father is not opening heaven merely so you can receive. He is opening heaven so you can be sent. The authority being placed upon you will require courage. Your yes has not ended the battle. It has only shifted it to a higher field, one where you will walk with greater power and greater accountability. But hear this clearly. The same obedience that unlocked the gates will keep them open. Guard it. Protect it. Refuse to let compromise slip back in, for the enemy will come, whispering that you can relax, that the fight is over. Yet you know the truth. The gates are open because you have finally aligned, and they will remain open as long as you walk in that alignment. This is your defining hour. Heaven is leaning in. The earth will feel the tremors of what has just been set in motion. You have stepped into a divine timeline where favor, authority, and purpose collide. If this word burns in your spirit, I want you to mark it publicly. As an act of faith, type the number 888 in the comments, a prophetic sign of new beginnings, eternal covenant, and the fullness of God's blessing being poured over your obedience. And share this message, because someone else's destiny may be waiting for the sound of your testimony. If you understood what just happened in the Spirit, you would not waste a single breath, hesitating. You would guard your words like treasure and protect your time like a sacred offering. For in the unseen realm, scrolls have been opened with your name inscribed, and assignments are being written in ink that cannot be erased. This is not only about what God is doing for you, it is about what He intends to do through you for others. The gates are not just a doorway to blessing. They are a passage into responsibility. When heaven opens, the eyes of both angels and adversaries turn toward you. Some will watch in awe at what God is building. Others will watch in rage, plotting to tear it down. But you will not be shaken. You have stepped into a covering that darkness cannot penetrate. Chosen one. Your life is now a living testimony that obedience is not weakness, but power. And in the days ahead, people will see you walk into places you once thought were closed forever. They will wonder how it happened. They will ask you for the secret, and you will tell them without hesitation, "It was my yes to God that did what nothing else could." So stand firm, speak boldly, walk through the gates with your head lifted high, for the King himself has swung them open. And remember, the same obedience that brought you here will carry you into every promise that is yet to come. Chosen one, in the courts of heaven there are no secrets. The moment you fully yielded to the will of God, the sound of it rippled through eternity like the striking of a great bell. And even before that moment, whispers had already begun to circle the throne, quiet conversations among the angelic hosts, speaking of your journey, your battles, and your perseverance through the storms. They spoke not only of your pain, but of the fire it had forged within you. The messengers assigned to guard you from the beginning knew exactly what this day would mean. They had stood watch through the long nights when discouragement wrapped around you like a heavy cloak. They had seen the battles where you were outnumbered. Yet somehow you stood, and now their voices rose before the King, carrying the fragrance of your obedience like an offering. In the unseen realm, nothing escapes the gaze of the Almighty. Every tear was a testimony. Every moment you resisted temptation became a record in heaven's archives. These whispers were not mere reports, they were declarations of loyalty, of faith, of unseen victories, won when no one was watching. The throne room itself is a place of unshakable order. Around it, the elders cast their crowns before the King, and the living creatures release their unending cry of "Holy." Yet even within that constant worship, your surrender caused a shift. The angels spoke of it, the way one speaks of a long-awaited sunrise. You must understand this. Obedience is not merely an action, it is a language. Heaven understands perfectly. It speaks louder than your prayers, faster than your requests, stronger than your plans. It tells heaven where your allegiance lies. And when spoken sincerely, it draws the full attention of the throne. The voice of God thundered in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, verse 23. Obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Walk in obedience to all I command you, that it may go well with you. What the angels whispered was not simply that you obeyed, but that you obeyed despite the cost. They spoke of the relationships you had to release, the opportunities you had to walk away from, and the comfort you had to lay aside. They recounted the countless times you could have chosen the easier way, yet you stayed the course. And in those whispers was another truth. Your obedience was not the product of sudden inspiration, but of long, hidden preparation. Heaven saw the years that felt like delay, the prayers that seemed unanswered, the days you wondered if you had been forgotten. Yet in that silence, the foundations of your surrender were being laid. When the angelic voices rose before the throne, they carried weight because they were built on truth. The King does not respond to empty words, he responds to reality. And the reality was this: your heart had bent fully toward him, leaving no shadow of compromise. In the presence of such truth, all of heaven listens. The great cloud of witnesses leaned in closer, their voices hushed, sensing the nearness of something historic. For every act of obedience sets in motion ripples that will outlast the moment. What you have done is not only for you, it is for those who will come after you. Your yes has now become part of heaven's unfolding story. And know this, the whispers before the throne are not the end, but the beginning. Every word spoken about you in heaven carries the power to shift things on the earth. What was once hidden is being announced in the spirit. The enemy's claims against you are being silenced, and heaven's proclamations are taking their place. The scrolls with your name are being unrolled, revealing the assignments and blessings prepared long before you were born. This is why the whispers matter, because they carry the weight of eternity into your present moment, unlocking what no human hand could open. And as the whispers fade into the steady roar of worship, they leave behind a fragrance in the throne room, the aroma of a life laid down. It is not forgotten. It is not overlooked. Heaven marks moments like this, recording them in its eternal history. One day, you will see how your yes became a turning point, not only in your own life, but in the lives of many you have yet to meet. The whispers were only the announcement. The unfolding, the full manifestation of your obedience is still to come, and it will be glorious. Chosen one. When you finally obeyed, something happened that hell could not stop and heaven could not delay. In the unseen, chains that had wrapped around your destiny for years shattered like glass under the weight of the king's decree. These were not small, symbolic chains. They were the kind forged in silence, linked by every compromise, fear, and doubt that had tried to hold you in place. Some of these chains came from the wounds of your past, from words spoken over you that were never from God. Others came from the enemy's schemes, subtle traps meant to keep you moving in circles rather than stepping forward into your calling. But the moment you aligned with God's voice, every link lost its strength. The sound of them breaking was not just heard in heaven, it was felt. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 107, verse 14. He brought them out of darkness, the utter darkness, and broke away their chains. This breaking was more than freedom from something, it was freedom for something. The absence of chains is not the end goal. Walking boldly into the space they once occupied is. The enemy's hold on your life was never about keeping you bound, it was about keeping you from influencing others. Every chain was an attempt to silence the message that now burns in your spirit. And now that those restraints are gone, there is a clarity you have not known before. Your thoughts will no longer be clouded by the weight of oppression. Your prayers will reach deeper because they are no longer muffled by the lies of the enemy. Even your courage will feel different, not forced, but flowing, like a river released from behind a dam. Think of the moments you felt as though something invisible kept pulling you back whenever you tried to move forward. That resistance was real. It was not your imagination. It was the work of chains, not physical, but spiritual, designed to convince you that forward motion was impossible. Yet here you stand, free, not by your own strength, but by the intervention of heaven itself. But hear me clearly. Freedom demands stewardship. You must guard it fiercely, because the enemy will always try to reforge what has been destroyed. His weapons will not always look like the old battles you fought. Sometimes they will come disguised as opportunities, relationships, or even good things offered at the wrong time. He will try to pull you back into the patterns you were delivered from, because if he can make you return willingly, he doesn't need to bind you forcibly. This is why you must remain alert. The same obedience that broke the chains is the obedience that will keep them from returning. Do not treat your deliverance as a one-time event. Treat it as a covenant to be maintained. Guard your thoughts. Guard your habits. Guard your time in God's presence. Because the freedom you now carry is a threat to every work of darkness around you. You see, chains don't just hold a person back. They hold back every life they could have touched. When your chains fell, it wasn't only your story that shifted, it was the stories of those you are called to reach. Somewhere out there are people who will encounter the gospel because you are now walking in the freedom to speak it. Somewhere, someone will break free because they saw you walk free first. This is why I want you to do something prophetic right now. Write in the comments, "No more chains." Declare it as a final verdict over your life. You are not just celebrating a moment of deliverance, you are sealing it in the spiritual realm. Every time you speak it, you confirm to heaven that you intend to keep walking in this freedom. And you remind hell that it has no legal claim on you anymore. So walk forward with your head high and your spirit awake. You were not freed just to stand still. You were freed to advance, to take ground, to reclaim what the enemy stole. The sound of those chains breaking is still echoing, and with every step you take, that echo grows louder until it becomes the anthem of your journey. And as you walk, let every step be a reminder. Obedience is the key that unlocked this freedom, and obedience will be the key that takes you further than you ever imagined. Chosen one. There are records in heaven that no human hands have ever touched. Scrolls sealed with the authority of the King himself. Each one bears names and destinies inscribed before the foundations of the earth were laid. And among them is a scroll with your name. It is not written in haste, nor in ink that fades. It is etched in the script of eternity, with every word carrying the weight of divine intention. The moment you obeyed, that scroll was brought forward, taken from the place where it had rested, awaiting the day of your alignment in the courts of heaven. This was not a small event. It was the fulfillment of a long-anticipated chapter in your story. The scribes of heaven are not like the record keepers of earth. They do not merely document events. They record the intersection of divine will and human choice. Your obedience triggered such a moment. What had been delayed for seasons was now brought to the forefront. The seals that once kept parts of your destiny hidden were loosened, and the contents of that scroll were prepared to be read before the throne. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 46, verse 10. I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is still to come. I say, my purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please. Oh, this is the reality of your scroll. It contains not only the plans God has for you, but the proof that His purpose will prevail when you walk in step with Him. The details within it are not random, they are precise. They include assignments, relationships, seasons of growth, and moments of impact you have yet to see. Some are battles you are destined to win. Others are doors you are appointed to open for those who will come after you. As the scroll is unrolled in the presence of the King, heaven responds. The angels assigned to you receive their orders. Resources begin to move into place. Strategies are set in motion that will connect you to the right people at the right time. This is why obedience matters. It activates the very architecture of your calling. Without that step of surrender, the scroll remains sealed, its contents waiting for the day you finally choose God's way over your own. You must understand that in the realm of the Spirit, nothing is accidental. Every event, every encounter, every challenge has been considered in light of the destiny written for you. And when you step into alignment, you step into a momentum that no force of darkness can withstand. It is not that the battles will stop, it is that the outcome has already been written in the ink of the Almighty. There is also a weight to this moment, a holy gravity. The unveiling of your scroll is not for spectacle, it is for assignment. With revelation comes responsibility. What you now carry is not merely a promise for you to enjoy, but a mission for you to fulfill. The scroll with your name is a covenant, and heaven expects you to walk it out with the same obedience that opened it. Imagine standing in that place, the light of the throne reflecting off the golden edges of the parchment, hearing the words that have been reserved for your ears alone. There is no mistaking them. They sound like destiny itself. In that moment, you realize that every sacrifice was worth it. Every yes in the shadows, every tear in the night, every season of waiting, all of it was leading here. The scroll with your name is not simply a record, it is a living testament that heaven writes with you, not without you. As you obey, new lines are added. As you endure, new victories are inscribed. As you trust, new blessings are released. And one day, when the story is complete, that scroll will stand as evidence before all creation that God's purpose was fulfilled in your life. And even now, though you cannot see it with your natural eyes, that scroll remains open before the throne. Its words are living, moving, shaping the path ahead of you. Every step you take in obedience keeps the ink flowing. Every choice to trust Him adds another line of glory to your story. One day, in the fullness of time, you will stand in the presence of the King and see it read aloud, not as a distant prophecy, but as the completed record of a life that said yes and never turned back. And heaven will call it good, chosen one. The moment the scroll with your name was unrolled, something began to happen in the distance. The gates, those ancient gates that had stood closed for so long, began to glow from within. At first, it was only a faint shimmer, like the first rays of dawn. But as your obedience continued to echo in the heavens, the light grew stronger, spilling through the cracks, pushing back the shadows that had camped before them for years. These are not ordinary gates. They are the entryway into promises, purposes, and provisions that have been reserved for your life. Some of them are blessings you've prayed for, others are assignments you didn't even know to ask about. Yet they all share one thing in common. They were waiting for your yes. 1. According to what is revealed in the book of Psalms, chapter 24, verse 7, lift up your heads, you gates, be lifted up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. On, as the gates began to shine, heaven itself seemed to hold its breath. The light pouring from them was not just beauty, it was authority. It signaled to every spiritual force in the region that something was shifting. Demonic strongholds that had guarded your access began to retreat. Where there was heaviness, there is now the fragrance of freedom. Where there was delay, there is now acceleration. But here's what you must understand. These gates are not powered by your effort. They are powered by your alignment. The more you walk in step with God, the brighter they burn. Every act of faith fuels the radiance. Every choice to trust Him pushes the hinges closer to opening. And while this is a deeply spiritual moment, it's also a moment for you to decide how you will respond here on earth. When heaven moves like this, you can't stay silent or passive. You are part of this moment. And you carry the responsibility to let the light spill into other lives as well. Share it with someone who needs to know that their obedience can awaken their own gates. Like this message, so it continues to reach others the algorithm wouldn't normally send it to. Subscribe so that you don't miss the next word that God has appointed for you in this season. And if the Spirit stirs you, consider planting a seed into this work. Every act of generosity in a moment like this is like adding oil to the lamps at these glowing gates, making the light shine further and touch more lives than yours alone. Back in the unseen, the gates are now almost impossible to ignore. The glow has become a beam that pierces the horizon. The sound of movement begins to echo, hinges groaning, mechanisms unlocking, barriers giving way. What's on the other side is not a mystery to heaven, but it may still be unknown to you. That's the beauty of obedience. It doesn't require you to have every answer, only to take the next step when God calls. Imagine walking toward those gates, feeling the heat of the light on your face, sensing the anticipation in the air. The very atmosphere is alive, humming with the expectation of what's about to be revealed. Angels stand at either side, not to keep you out, but to honor your approach. You have been invited, and nothing can revoke that invitation now. The glow is a promise, but it is also a challenge. Will you walk through when they open? Will you trust that what's on the other side is better than anything you're leaving behind? This is where many hesitate, lingering just outside their breakthrough because fear whispers louder than faith. But you are not like the rest. Your steps have already proven that you will not turn back now. So keep your eyes fixed on the light. Keep your spirit attuned to the one who called you here. The gates are not glowing for nothing. They are glowing because the King is coming through them with you. And when they open fully, you will see that every moment of waiting, every trial, every sacrifice was preparing you to walk through in strength, not in weakness. And as those gates stand on the edge of opening, remember this: you are not walking toward them alone. Every promise of God, every word He has spoken over your life, is walking with you. The glow ahead is not just an entrance, it is an announcement. Heaven is declaring that your time has come, and nothing can keep you from what has been prepared. Chosen one. The gates have not only glowed, now they stand open, and from beyond them comes a sound unlike anything you have heard before, the voice of the King calling your name. It is not a shout in the way humans shout. It is a tone that carries both authority and affection, a resonance that goes deeper than your ears and settles into your spirit. The moment you hear it, you know this call is not for the crowd. It is not a general summons. It is precise, personal, intentional. Every syllable is wrapped in purpose, and every note carries the weight of eternity. You realize in that instant that the same God who spoke galaxies into being is speaking to you. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 3, "The sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out." End quote. This is not a casual invitation. It is the recognition of your place in his design. Heaven does not call names without reason. When your name is spoken in glory, it signals to every realm, both light and dark, that your time has come. It is the King's way of marking you publicly, of saying, "This one is mine. This one has obeyed. This one will walk with me into what comes next." No, you may wonder why this moment feels so heavy, so holy. It is because being called by name in the presence of the King is not just about identity, it is about assignment. In heaven's order, recognition always precedes release. The King calls you so he can commission you. His voice is the bridge between obedience and destiny. Picture it now. You step forward through the gates, and all of heaven takes notice. The angels who once guarded you in the wilderness now line the path, their eyes fixed on the one the King has summoned. The atmosphere is charged, alive with anticipation. This is not ceremony for ceremony's sake. It is the alignment of heaven's will with your journey. When the King calls your name, he is not asking you to come closer just to stand there. He is drawing you into the very center of his purpose, into a place where revelation and responsibility meet. In that space, you will not only receive blessing, you will be entrusted with authority. And here is the truth you must hold on to. This call will change the way you walk. Once your name has been called in glory, you cannot go back to anonymity in the spirit. You have been marked. The enemy knows it. Heaven knows it. The cloud of witnesses knows it. You will carry the sound of that call within you, and it will shape every decision you make from this point forward. This is why I want you to mark this moment, not just in your heart, but publicly. Write in the comments the number 4444, a prophetic sign of open doors, divine alignment, and the fullness of time. This is not superstition, it is agreement. You are declaring to heaven and to the earth that you hear the King's voice, and you are answering it without hesitation. When you respond, you are not just typing numbers, you are sealing your yes in the natural and the supernatural. You are making a statement that you will follow where he leads, no matter the cost, no matter the distance, no matter the unknowns that lie ahead. And as you do, remember this: your name will never be spoken in glory by accident. It is always the result of a life that has yielded, a heart that has listened, and feet that are ready to move when called. So, walk forward now. Let the sound of his voice become the rhythm of your steps. Let his calling be the fire that keeps you from drifting. The King has spoken. The gates are open, and your name is echoing in the halls of eternity. Do not let this moment pass you by without stepping fully into it. And as you take that first step toward his voice, everything behind you begins to fade. The noise, the doubts, the weight you once carried, they lose their grip in the light of his presence. Every step is a confirmation that you are exactly where you are meant to be. You realize now that this is not just an invitation to come closer, but an ordination to go further. The sound of your name in glory will follow you into every battle, every blessing, and every breakthrough. And when the King calls, you will never be the same again. Chosen one. The moment the King's voice calls your name, your feet begin to move without hesitation. The gates that once glowed before you now stand wide, their towering frames crowned with light. The air on this side is thick with the scent of glory. But just beyond the threshold lies something entirely different, the realm of fulfillment, where prophecy meets reality. Crossing the threshold is not like stepping through a doorway on earth. Here, every movement feels weighty. Every step carries the resonance of eternity. It is as if time itself slows to bear witness. The ground beneath you seems alive, responding to the sound of your arrival. Even the light changes. It is not just illumination, but revelation, revealing truths that could not be seen from the other side. As your foot crosses that invisible line between what was and what is to come, you feel the shift. Behind you are the seasons of preparation. the wildernesses you endured, the battles that forged your obedience. Ahead of you lies a landscape untouched by the shadows of your past, vibrant with the colors of promise. The threshold itself is the seam where these two worlds meet, and in crossing it, you declare that the former will not define the latter. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 3 still echo today. I will give you every place where you set your foot. As he promised Moses, no, here. The promise becomes tangible. Every step you take beyond the threshold claims ground written in your scroll long before you knew it existed. This is more than inheritance. It is territory reclaimed from the grip of darkness. The atmosphere carries both welcome and warfare, for while this place is prepared for you, it is also contested. You notice that the path ahead is not paved in gold, as you might have imagined. Instead, it is lined with signs of both beauty and battle. On one side, streams of living water cut through fields ripe for harvest. On the other, you can see the shadows of resistance waiting beyond the horizon. This is the nature of promise. It offers abundance. But it also requires courage. Crossing the threshold is not about comfort. It is about commission. It is the moment when everything you learned in the hidden place is brought into the open. The faith you practiced in secret will now be tested in the light. The patience you forged in waiting will now be demanded in leading. The endurance that kept you from giving up will now carry you into victories that will not come without a fight. Yet you are not alone here. The same voice that called your name now walks beside you, steady and sure. His presence is both shield and guide, ensuring that you do not step into this new realm in your own strength. Every time you glance toward him, you are reminded that the threshold was never meant to be a place of fear, but of faith. From this side, you can look back and see the gates still open, light spilling out into the place you once stood. It is a reminder that the way back is always there, but it is no longer an option for you. You have crossed over. You are committed to the road ahead. The landscape begins to open wider, revealing paths that branch toward different parts of your calling. Some are clear and sunlit. Others wind through valleys you cannot yet see into. But there is no anxiety in this. You understand now that obedience does not require you to know every turn, only to follow the one who does. And so, step by step, you move deeper into this realm. Every breath you take feels charged with purpose. Every sound around you, the rustle of leaves, the rush of water, even the distant rumble of thunder, seems to join in a chorus that affirms your arrival. This is where the promises of God begin to take form. Not as distant hopes, but as living realities you can touch and walk upon. Crossing the threshold is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter that will demand more of you than ever before. But as you feel the ground solid beneath your feet, you realize you are ready. Not because you are strong in yourself, but because every moment that brought you here was preparing you for this. And as the path stretches out before you, you know one truth above all others. You were made for this side of the gates. This is your territory, your assignment, your season to walk in what heaven has already written. You will not turn back. You cannot. The threshold is behind you, and the future is unfolding with every step you take forward. Chosen one, the moment you step further into this realm, something begins to envelop you, not a sight, not a sound, but a presence that can only be described as the fragrance of eternity. It is unlike anything on earth. It is neither the sweetness of flowers nor the richness of incense. Though it carries both those qualities, it is purity itself, tangible enough to stir every part of your being, from your spirit to your very breath. It is a fragrance that does not fade with distance. It follows you, clinging to your garments, as if to mark you for what you now carry. Wherever it goes, it speaks silently, telling every spiritual force around you that you belong to the King and have walked where few are allowed to tread. You breathe deeply, and with each breath comes a sense of clarity, memories of fear, regret, and shame dissolve in the presence of this scent. It is as if the air itself carries healing, washing away the residue of the old season. The fragrance is not just an aroma, it is a message, a declaration that you have entered into a space where death has no claim and time has no hold. The Apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 15, "For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing." This fragrance is not merely for your enjoyment, it is an anointing. It marks you as one who has been in the presence of the Eternal. Wherever you go from this place, traces of it will remain. People will not always be able to name it, but they will sense it, a peace they cannot explain, a hope they cannot resist, a stirring in their spirit they cannot ignore. It is here, in the fragrance of eternity, that you begin to understand why the path to this place required such surrender. You realize that this scent is not picked up casually. It is not sold or traded. It is carried only by those who have paid the price of obedience, who have walked through fire and not turned away. As you move deeper, you notice how the fragrance seems to shift slightly, revealing new layers. At moments, it carries the freshness of a garden at dawn. At others, the depth of an ancient temple filled with worship. Each nuance tells a part of your story, the joy of beginnings, the weight of sacrifice, the sweetness of promises fulfilled. The fragrance also draws attention in the spiritual realm. Angels seem to gather near, drawn by the scent that affirms your alignment with the King's purposes. They walk with you now, not as silent watchers, but as companions in the unfolding mission. In their presence, you feel no intimidation, only unity, as though heaven and earth are moving in the same rhythm around you. This atmosphere changes you. Your thoughts begin to align more quickly with truth. Your heart becomes more sensitive to the whisper of the Spirit. Even your sense of time alters, moments stretch and contract, as if the eternal is folding into the present. You are no longer just walking, you are dwelling in something holy. There is also a protective quality in this fragrance. Darkness cannot linger in it. Lies cannot flourish in it. The moment deception tries to approach, it is repelled, as though the scent itself is a shield. This is why you must guard what you carry. Now the fragrance of eternity is meant to go with you, but it can be diminished if you step out of alignment with the one who gave it. As you pause to take it in once more, you understand that this fragrance is more than a gift. It is a responsibility. It is meant to draw others toward the King, to awaken hunger in hearts that have grown cold, to whisper of a reality beyond what they see. And so you walk on, each step leaving behind a trail that others will one day follow. Long after you pass through this place, the fragrance will linger, calling out to those who are searching, telling them that there is more, that heaven is real, and that the gates are still open for those who will obey. And as you leave this part of the path, you realize the fragrance will not fade with time. It will cling to your spirit like a royal garment, unseen yet undeniable, wherever life takes you next. This scent will speak before you do, announcing silently but powerfully, "This one has walked in the presence of eternity, chosen one." The path leads you into an expanse so vast it takes your breath away. Before you stretches a table, unlike anything the earth has ever known, the banquet of the faithful. It is not merely a feast of food, but a celebration of victory, a testimony to promises fulfilled, and a reward for endurance that refused to quit. The table seems to go on without end, adorned with cups that overflow and platters that glisten as though lit from within. The chairs are not uniform, each one is unique. Prepared for the individual it honors. You notice that the seat prepared for you bears markings of your journey, reminders of battles fought, prayers prayed, and sacrifices made. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 23, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things." This banquet is not simply a reward for obedience. It is a gathering of those who chose the narrow way. Around you are others who walked their own valleys, faced their own trials, and yet, like you, arrived at this table by saying yes to the King. Each smile here carries a story. Each story carries the fragrance of victory. The air is filled with a sound unlike any earthly celebration. It is laughter, yes, but also worship, a harmony that blends joy and reverence into one perfect expression. Servants move about the table, not in haste, but with precision, placing before each guest exactly what they need, exactly when they need it. The food here is more than sustenance. One taste floods you with strength, another fills you with peace, another ignites boldness within your spirit. Each portion seems tailor-made for the assignments ahead. For though this is a banquet, it is also a commissioning. The King does not gather his faithful to retire them, he gathers them to refresh, to equip, and to send. As you look around, you realize something extraordinary. No one here is in competition. The joy of one is the joy of all. Victories are shared, not compared. There is no shadow of envy, no trace of insecurity. This is the fellowship of the faithful, a communion unbroken by pride or fear. Your eyes lift, and you see the King at the head of the table. His eyes meet yours, and in them you see both delight and purpose. You understand now that your journey was never just about reaching this place. It was about becoming the person who could sit here and carry what comes next. In this moment, I want you to mark your place at this table in a prophetic way. Write in the comments, "I take my seat." Let it be a declaration that you are not an outsider looking in, but a rightful guest in the banquet of the faithful. You are agreeing with heaven's invitation, choosing to accept what the King has prepared for you. As you make that declaration, imagine the chair beneath you, steadying, as though locking you into your position. This is not a temporary seat, it is a recognition of your covenant. The King himself has reserved it, and no one can take it from you. So eat, drink, and be strengthened. Let every taste remind you that the one who called you is faithful to keep you. And when the banquet comes to its close, you will rise not only satisfied, but equipped, ready to carry the joy of this table into the places still waiting for the light. And as the music swells, you realize this moment will be etched into eternity. You glance once more at the table, seeing faces radiant with gratitude and eyes alight with purpose. The conversations around you are not idle chatter, they are exchanges of wisdom. Stories that weave together the great tapestry of God's faithfulness. A servant pose beside you, pouring into your cup something that shimmers like liquid light. You take a sip, and it is as though courage itself has entered your veins. Every drop tells you the journey ahead is possible because the one who called you will sustain you. The king's gaze sweeps over the table, his eyes resting on each guest with personal affection. When they fall on you again, you sense that the next part of your journey is near. The banquet is not the end, it is the launch. And as you prepare to rise, you carry with you the taste of victory and the strength of the faithful. Chosen one. The banquet key. The music softens until all that remains is the sound of your heartbeat and the steady rhythm of eternity itself. At the head of the table, the king rises. In his hand is something you have never seen before. A crown. It is not generic. Not one that could belong to anyone. This crown has been crafted for you alone. Every jewel set into it tells a part of your story. Some stones gleam with the victories you have won, others shine with the lessons you have learned in seasons of testing. There are gems cut from the tears you shed in prayer, and metals refined from the fires you endured. This is not just a symbol of authority, it is a living testimony of who you have become through obedience. The Word of God proclaims, in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 4, when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. The king steps forward, his gaze steady and sure. He does not rush. Every movement is intentional, as though the entire kingdom is leaning in to witness this moment. He holds the crown in such a way that you can see its weight, not heavy with burden, but heavy with glory. When he speaks, his voice is both gentle and unshakable. You have been faithful, he says, and the words seem to echo through every corner of your soul. You have walked through the fire and not been consumed. You have carried the light when darkness pressed in. Now, wear what I have prepared for you. And as he lifts the crown toward your head, you feel an overwhelming sense of completeness. This is not the end of your journey, but it is the recognition of what has been accomplished so far. The crown is not merely for display, it is a mantle of responsibility, a reminder that with honor comes the call to lead, to protect, to serve. And this is the moment I want you to act on here on earth. If this word is stirring something deep in you, don't let it pass without a response. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded that their faithfulness is seen by heaven. Like it, so the light of this moment reaches those who might otherwise miss it. Subscribe, so you stay connected to the words God is pouring out in this season. And if you feel the Spirit prompting you, plant a seed into this work. Your generosity is like setting another jewel into the crown and guarding its brilliance, so it will never fade. Every gift becomes part of the light this message carries, ensuring it continues to shine into places still covered in shadow. Back in the throne room, the crown rests perfectly on your head. It does not feel foreign. It feels as though it was always meant to be there. The weight of it is not oppressive, but empowering. In that instant, you sense the authority. It carries authority to speak life, to tear down strongholds, to build what the King entrusts to you. Around you, a great cheer rises, not as noise, but as worship. Every voice in heaven seems to join in, celebrating the king who rewards and the servant who persevered. You are no longer just the one who obeyed. You are the one who now wears the mark of that obedience. The king places his hand on your shoulder. Go, he says, and let this crown remind you that you are mine. Let it remind the world whose authority you carry. Let it remind the darkness that it cannot stand against you. And as you step away from the head of the table, you realize something. The crown is not the reward itself. The real reward is the closeness to the king that it represents. The unshakable truth that you have walked with him through every season and emerged refined. The crown is the visible proof of an invisible covenant, and it will shine as long as you continue to walk in the light that placed it there. And as the crown settles on your head, you feel something invisible yet undeniable, a new weight of responsibility that does not crush, but steadies you. You realize the crown is not just an ornament. It is a reminder that heaven now recognizes you as one trusted to carry out the king's will. The sound of worship continues behind you as you take your first steps in this new mantle. Every eye in the throne room watches, not in judgment, but in anticipation of what you will do next. And within you, a quiet certainty grows. This is only the beginning. Chosen one. The crown still rests upon your head when the king gestures for you to follow. The sound of the banquet fades behind you as he leads you away from the great table, through a hall where the very walls seem to pulse with light. This is the place where assignments are given, not vague hopes or general blessings, but specific mandates that will shape nations, shift atmospheres, and alter the course of lives. The hall opens into a chamber, unlike any you have seen. It is circular, vast, and layered with glory. Pillars rise like living flames, each one carved with the stories of those who have walked faithfully before you. Between them hang banners that bear the colors of the king's victories, battles fought and won in ages past. Victories that make your mission possible today. In the center of the chamber is a great table, but it is not set with food. Upon it rests maps not of earthly geography, but of spiritual territories. They shimmer and shift as though alive, revealing the places where light must still break through, where the harvest waits, where the oppressed cry out for deliverance. Each map tells a story of both challenge and promise. The king's eyes turn toward you, and in them you see not only love, but fierce determination. He points to one of the maps, and instantly, understanding floods your spirit. You are not being sent aimlessly, you are being sent with precision. The territory he indicates is tied to your history, your scars, and your victories. You were prepared for this ground long before you knew it existed. The ancient words recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8, come alive in this moment. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." There is no hesitation in you now. The same obedience that brought you through the gates compels you to answer. Yet you also sense the weight of what you are agreeing to, the knowledge that assignments from the throne are never light. They will demand courage when fear would seem reasonable, faith when the path ahead looks impossible, and perseverance when the world tells you to quit. The king reaches to the table and picks up a small scroll. Unlike the scroll with your name, which records your destiny, this one carries instructions for the immediate future. It is sealed with his signet, a mark that guarantees both its authenticity and its protection. He places it into your hands, and as your fingers close around it, you feel a surge of strength. This is not strength drawn from your own resolve, but from the one who sends you. Around the chamber, you sense movement. Angels step forward, not the ones who merely observed your journey, but those assigned to walk it with you. Their armor gleams. Their weapons seem almost to hum with anticipation. You realize that your assignment is not solitary. You are stepping into a coordinated mission backed by the full authority of heaven. The king's voice fills the room again. Though it is directed only at you, he speaks of the people you will encounter, the resistance you will face, and the breakthroughs you will witness. His words are not vague encouragements, they are strategies, keys to unlock what has been bound, wisdom to dismantle lies and establish truth. As you listen, the maps begin to shift again, showing glimpses of what is to come, moments when you will stand in places that once felt unreachable, conversations that will carry eternal weight, prayers that will change the course of entire communities. You understand now why this assignment could only come after the crown. Without the authority it represents, you would not have the standing to walk in what lies ahead. When the king finishes speaking, there is a pause. The chamber is silent except for the steady rhythm of your own breathing. You know this is the moment to commit fully, to seal in your heart what has been placed in your hands. There is no ceremony, no applause, only the profound awareness that you have been entrusted with something sacred. The king nods once, a gesture of both approval and release. The angels close in around you, forming a guard, not to shield you from fear, but to declare to every realm that you do not walk alone. The scroll in your hand feels warm now, as if the assignment itself is alive, waiting for you to take the first step. And so you stand, crown on your head, scroll in your grasp, the king's voice still echoing in your spirit. The throne is behind you, the mission is before you, and the path is clear. You have been sent, chosen one. The moment the king places the scroll in your hands, something begins to stir in the atmosphere. It is as if the air thickens with purpose. You sense movement above you, and then it happens. The mantle of authority descends. It does not fall like cloth. It rests upon you like a living presence. This mantle is not woven from earthly fabric. It carries the weight of heaven's power, the imprint of the one who sent you. As it settles across your shoulders, you feel both the gentleness of a shepherd's embrace and the immovable strength of a warrior's armor. The voice of God thunders in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Emplay, under this mantle, you are no longer moving in your own name, but in the authority of the King. Where you speak, heaven confirms. Where you declare, the power of God follows. This is not authority to control others, but to destroy the works of darkness, to heal what is broken, and to proclaim freedom where there has been captivity. It is here that you realize this mantle is more than empowerment. It is a visible sign to both realms. In the unseen, angels recognize it as a command to stand beside you, to fight with you, to make way for you. In the camp of the enemy, it is a warning, a signal that one marked by the King is approaching. As you look down, the mantle's edges seem to shimmer with light, changing hue, depending on the task at hand. When you are called to lead, it carries the colors of wisdom. When you are called to battle, it bears the fire of the Spirit. When you are called to comfort, it radiates a soft glow that draws hearts nearer to God. You understand now why this mantle could not be given before. Authority without obedience is dangerous. Power without humility is destructive. Only after you have walked the path of surrender, received the crown of responsibility, and accepted your assignment, can this level of authority be entrusted to you. The King's voice speaks again, not loud, but resonant enough to fill every part of you. This mantle will remain as long as you remain in me. It will go where you go, and it will work as long as your heart stays aligned with my will. No, a deep resolve rises within you. This is not something you will take lightly. You know the weight of what you carry, and you know the cost of walking away from it. This mantle is not meant to be admired, but to be used to lift burdens, to confront injustice, to bring light into dark places. And now, I want you to mark this moment in a prophetic way. Write in the comments the number 5,555, a sign of divine grace multiplied, of kingdom authority established, and of a mission fully activated. Let it be your public declaration that you are stepping into the authority God has placed upon you, not for your glory, but for His. As you breathe under the weight of this mantle, you notice something else. It fits perfectly, not too heavy to bear, not too light to forget. It was made for you, shaped by the seasons that trained you and the obedience that brought you here. It is the outward expression of an inward reality that you now move as an ambassador of the King himself. And with the mantle secure on your shoulders, the scroll in your hands, and the crown upon your head, you are ready, not just ready to go, but ready to go in power, in confidence, and in the assurance that the one who sent you walks with you into every step of what comes next. And as you take your first steps with the mantle upon you, the atmosphere seems to respond. Doors you could not open before begin to swing wide. Resistance that once stood immovable starts to crumble. You feel a new clarity in your spirit. You no longer wonder whether you belong in the fight. You know you have been sent into it with heaven's full endorsement. Every motion, every word, every prayer now carries the weight of this mantle. And though you cannot see them with your natural eyes, you sense the ranks of heaven walking in formation beside you. The mission is no longer a distant vision. It has already begun, and you are moving in it now. Chosen one. The chamber grows still once more. The angels who stand in formation around you lower their heads, and a holy quiet settles over the room. The King steps forward, closing the distance between you until his presence fills every breath you take. In his eyes, you see both the fire of his glory and the tenderness of his love. It is then that you realize this is the moment of the sealing touch. He reaches out his hand, and you instinctively bow your head. The weight of the crown is still there. The mantle drapes across your shoulders. The scroll remains secure in your grasp. Yet, somehow, this moment feels heavier than them all. For crowns can be placed, mantles can be given, assignments can be spoken, but the sealing touch is different. It is the point at which heaven imprints something eternal upon your spirit. As his hand comes to rest upon your head, it is as if time itself folds in around you. Everything else fades. The chamber, the angels, even the ground beneath your feet. You are caught in a moment that is both endless and fleeting. The touch is not forceful, yet it carries the strength of creation itself. The ancient words in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24 to 26, seem to come alive in this moment. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. This is more than blessing. It is the sealing of your identity and purpose. Under his hand, you feel every fear dissipate, every doubt silenced. The accusations of the enemy lose their sting here, for the King himself has marked you. This touch is the declaration that you are his not only chosen, but kept. With the sealing comes an infusion of strength, unlike anything you have known. It is not the adrenaline of battle nor the relief of victory. It is deeper, quieter, yet utterly unshakable. You know, without a shadow of hesitation, that what has been placed upon you cannot be taken by force, cannot be stolen by deception, cannot be undone by failure. The seal is permanent. From somewhere deep within, peace begins to rise. Not the kind that simply calms your mind, but the peace that anchors your soul. It settles into every corner of your being, reaching places you didn't know were restless. Even your breathing slows, as if every part of you has finally aligned with the rhythm of his heart. The King does not speak many words in this moment. Instead, his silence says more than speech ever could. You understand that the seal is not just for power, not just for the mission ahead. It is for relationship. It is the reminder that before you are a servant, you are a son or daughter. Before you carry a task, you carry his name. When his hand lifts, the seal remains. You feel it like a gentle heat at the center of your being, a quiet fire that will burn for the rest of your days. You know it will guide you when the path grows unclear, steady you when the winds rise, and remind you of who you are when the voices around you try to tell you otherwise. The angels raise their heads again, their eyes reflecting the light of the seal now upon you. You can see in their faces that they recognize it, the unmistakable mark of one who has been personally touched by the King. To them, it is both a sign and a command to protect, to assist, and to honor the mission you have been given. As the moment passes, you feel a shift in the air. The stillness begins to give way to movement again. The King steps back, yet his presence does not diminish. In fact, it feels closer than ever, as though the seal has drawn a permanent line of connection between your heart and his. You straighten, the weight of the crown steady, the mantle secure, the scroll ready. But it is the seal you are most aware of, invisible to the eye, yet undeniable to the spirit. With it, you will walk into the places the King sends you, unshaken by storms, unafraid of shadows, unyielding in purpose. And in the depths of your being, you know one thing beyond all else. The sealing touch was not just the end of your preparation, it was the beginning of your release. Chosen one. The moment the King's hand lifts from your head, the atmosphere shifts again, but this time, it is not the stillness of intimate sealing. It is motion, sound, and force converging all at once. It begins like a distant hum, low and steady, resonating through the ground beneath your feet. The vibration rises, filling the chamber, until the sound becomes a roar. It is not chaos. It is not noise for the sake of volume. This roar carries purpose, order, and unity. It is the combined voices of heaven's armies, legions of angels, responding to the seal now upon you. They are not merely watching your commissioning, they are participating in it. Their sound is both celebration and declaration, affirming that the mission you have been given is now fully active. The Book of Psalms, chapter 103, verse 20, captures their essence. Praise the Lord, you, his angels, you mighty ones who do his bidding, who obey his word. End. The roar swells, and with it comes a visual display. From every side of the chamber, battalions of angels march forward in formation. Their armor shines like molten gold, reflecting the very light of the throne. Each carries a weapon, unlike any forged by human hands, swords of light, shields of truth, banners that blaze with the emblem of the King. They do not move aimlessly. Their steps are synchronized, their movements precise. Some kneel as you pass, not in worship of you, but in honor of the King's decision to send you. Others take positions along the path ahead, preparing to accompany you into the assignments marked out in the scroll you carry. The sound of their roar is more than a rally, it is a weapon in itself. You can feel it breaking through unseen barriers, scattering resistance before you have even taken a single step. It reaches into the places you are called to go, announcing in the spirit realm that a chosen one, sealed and crowned, is on the move. The sheer scale of the army is staggering. As far as you can see, ranks upon ranks stretch into the horizon. Each angel seems to radiate the same fire you now feel burning within yourself, a shared determination to see the King's will done. No matter the cost, you begin to notice details, the expressions on their faces, the unity in their eyes, the absence of hesitation. These are not hesitant recruits. They are seasoned warriors who have fought for the kingdom since before the foundations of the earth. Their presence beside you is not symbolic. They will walk with you into the fiercest battles, stand guard in the darkest nights, and clear paths you could never open on your own. The roar changes in tone, becoming almost like a chant. You cannot make out every word, but the rhythm carries meaning. It is a proclamation that the time has come, that the hour is now, that nothing will stand in the way of the mission you have been given. The King stands behind you as you take in the sight. Though he does not speak aloud, his presence communicates everything. This army does not answer to you, but they will fight for you because you fight for him. Their loyalty is anchored in his authority, and his authority has now been placed upon you. A wind begins to move through the ranks. Though there is no source you can see, it carries with it the scent of the fragrance you encountered earlier. Mingled now with the sharpness of battle readiness, the banners snap in the wind, their colors vibrant, their symbols clear, each one representing victory yet to come. The roar reaches its peak, echoing so powerfully that you can feel it in your chest. Then, as if by one command, it stops. The silence is immediate and absolute, yet it is not empty. It is charged with potential, like the stillness before the first strike in a decisive battle. You realize in that moment that the roar was not only to mark your commissioning, it was to awaken everything and everyone connected to your mission. Allies in the unseen have been alerted. Opposition in the unseen has been warned. The sound still reverberates somewhere deep in your spirit, a reminder that you are not walking into this alone. The King steps to your side, and without words, begins walking toward the edge of the chamber. The path forward is flanked on both sides by the armies of heaven, their eyes fixed ahead, their weapons ready. You step forward too, each footfall accompanied by the unspoken certainty that the roar you just heard will never truly fade. It will follow you into every battle, every victory, every moment, until the mission is complete. Chosen one, the roar of heaven's armies still lingers in your chest when the king leads you to another great table, this one smaller than the banquets, yet no less significant. Upon it rests a scroll, different from the one you received earlier. This scroll is larger, heavier, and its surface seems to shimmer with an iridescent light that shifts as you move. You know instantly, this is the scroll that reveals the generational impact of your obedience. The king's hand rests upon it, and with a single touch, the seals begin to loosen. As the parchment unrolls, it does not simply lie flat. It expands like a living panorama. Scenes come alive across its surface, each one a window into the ripple effects of what you have done in alignment with heaven. At first, you see familiar moments the day you surrendered fully. The battles you fought, the victories you won. But then the images move beyond you. You see faces you have never met, lives touched by the words you spoke, the prayers you prayed, the decisions you made in secret obedience. Some are in your own time, others are far into the future. The voice of God speaks through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 55, verse 11. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. The king looks at you and says, "This is the evidence. Your obedience did not just change your life. It altered the course of history for many." The weight of this truth settles in your spirit. You realize now that heaven never measures an act of faith solely by its immediate results. Heaven sees the generations it will touch, the doors it will open long after you are gone. As you continue to watch, the scroll reveals more. Children who will grow up in the light because you carried it into their parents' lives. Nations shifted because you refused to compromise. Strongholds crumbling in places you never stepped foot, all because you said yes when it mattered most. The king's eyes hold yours. What you have unlocked will remain open. The work you have begun will not end with you. Others will pick up where you leave off. And the scroll will keep unfolding until every word written is fulfilled. It is here, in this moment of revelation, that I want you to engage in something prophetic here on earth. Share this message so that others can see what faithfulness truly produces. Like it so that it continues to reach those who need to be reminded that their yes matters more than they know. Comment on this post, letting the world and the unseen realm know you are committed to your own scroll being fulfilled. Subscribe so you stay aligned with the words and guidance that keep you moving forward. And if you feel led, sow into this work. Your giving is like placing your hand on the edge of this scroll, keeping it open so its light can continue to spill into places still waiting for their story to be written. Every gift becomes part of the ink and the illumination, ensuring the message does not fade, but grows brighter with every life it reaches. Back in the throne room, the scroll continues to unfurl, revealing more than you can take in at once. The king does not expect you to grasp it all now. He only asks you to trust that none of it is wasted. Every act of love, every stand for truth, every moment you chose obedience over comfort, It is all here, recorded, living, and multiplying. You reach out to touch the scroll, and as your hand meets its surface, you feel the heartbeat of heaven within it. The mission you carry is not an isolated task. It is part of a tapestry stretching far beyond your lifetime. The knowledge humbles you, but it also ignites a fresh determination to walk every step with purpose. The king gently rolls the scroll back up, sealing it with his mark once again. You have seen enough for today, he says. The rest will be revealed as you walk it out. There is no sadness in the closing, only anticipation. You know now that the unfolding will continue as long as you remain faithful. As you turn from the table, the images still linger in your mind. Each one a reminder that obedience is never small. Your life is a line in an eternal story, and the ink is still wet. Chosen one. The scroll is sealed again, but the vision of it still burns in your mind. The king does not pause long. He turns from the table, and you follow. The weight of the crown steady on your head, the mantle secure on your shoulders, and the sealed scroll in your grasp. The air itself feels different now, charged, alive, brimming with expectancy. The chamber opens into a vast gateway, its frame carved with symbols you have never seen, yet somehow understand. Each mark speaks of covenants kept, victories won, and the faithfulness of the one who sends you. The gates themselves are not closed, but veiled with a brilliance so pure it is almost blinding. You sense that once you pass through, there is no return to the life you knew before. From beyond the veil comes a sound, not the roar of heaven's armies this time, but a deep, rhythmic pulse, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. You realize it is the cry of the harvest, the call of the places you are sent to reach. It is urgent, insistent, and it resonates with the fire inside you. The king stands before the gate and turns to face you one final time. His gaze is unwavering, filled with both pride and gravity. What lies ahead, he says, will test you in ways the palace could not. But remember this, everything you need has already been placed within you. You do not go alone. At his words, the armies you saw earlier begin to move again, taking their places around you. Some step ahead to clear the path. Others fall in behind to guard your back. And still others flank your sides as a living wall. You realize this is not merely an escort, it is a declaration to every realm, seen and unseen, that the one sent by the king is coming. The ancient words in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, rise in your spirit, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. A wind rises from behind the throne, moving through the chamber, tugging at your mantle and stirring the banners overhead. The veil over the gate begins to ripple, and for the first time, you can see beyond it. There is light, not the still, perfect light of the throne room, but the fractured light of a world in need. Shadows move in the distance, but so does the glimmer of hope waiting to break through. The king lifts his hand, and the veil begins to dissolve. You feel the pull, not as a force dragging you forward, but as a deep agreement in your own spirit. This is why you were called. This is why you obeyed. Every test, every tear, every step of surrender has brought you to this threshold. You glance once more at the king, and he nods not as one giving permission, but as one affirming that the time is right. The gates are now fully open, and the path stretches out before you like a river of light, cutting through a land still marked by battle. Your first step is deliberate. The moment your foot crosses the threshold, the atmosphere shifts again. The sound of the harvest grows louder. The air carries the scent of both challenge and victory, and the ground seems to vibrate with anticipation. The armies move in sync with you, and though the king remains behind the gate, his presence is still with you in the seal, in the mantle, in the crown, in the scroll. There is no fanfare now, no audience to watch. You go. This is not a performance, it is a mission. The silence behind you is matched by the gravity ahead. And yet, in that silence, you feel the steady pulse of heaven, reminding you that the one who sent you will be in every moment, every word, every battle, until the assignment is complete. You walk on, the light before you growing stronger with each step, the shadow of the throne still stretching over your path, and in your heart, there is no doubt you have been sent forth by the King himself. And as you step farther from the gates, you do not look back. The road ahead may twist, the battles may rage, but the seal upon you burns steady, a constant reminder that heaven's eyes are on your every step. The sending forth is not the end, it is the beginning of a story still unfolding. Chosen one. The light of the open road still glimmers ahead when the King calls your name one last time. You stop, turning back toward the gates. And there he stands, not as a distant ruler upon his throne, but as the one who has walked with you in every hidden moment. His voice is steady, carrying the weight of eternity. And in it you hear something you have not yet heard in all your journey. The final promise. He steps forward just enough for his presence to fill the space between you. Though you are already beyond the gates, there is no separation. The same authority that crowned you, mantled you, and sealed you still flows freely, bridging the space between where you stand and where he reigns. The promise comes not as a single sentence, but as a series of truths woven together like threads of unbreakable gold. He tells you that no matter what the path holds, his covenant with you will not falter. Storms may rise, shadows may press in, but the bond between you and the King is beyond the reach of time, distance, or opposition. The words of the psalmist in chapter 121, verses 7 and 8, seem to take shape in the air. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. And this is not a promise of ease, but of presence. He does not say the journey will be without pain, but he assures you that no pain will be wasted. Every trial will be turned into testimony, every battle into a step toward victory, every tear into a seed that bears eternal fruit. You feel the weight of his gaze, and it is not the weight of judgment, but of deep, abiding commitment. He reminds you that when you speak in his name, you do so not as one merely permitted, but as one fully backed by the power of his kingdom. That power is not a tool for pride, but a trust to be guarded. The King's final promise also carries a call that you will never walk into a place he has not already entered ahead of you. Even in the most hostile ground, his footsteps will be there, marking the way. And when your strength runs low, you will find that he has already laid provision in the very place you thought would break you. The moment feels larger than time itself. You realize that this final promise is not a conclusion, but an anchor. It will hold you steady when the world shakes, draw you back when distractions call, and lift you up when weariness tries to weigh you down. Behind the king, the throne room remains unchanged, radiant, unshaken, and full of the same glory you first saw when the gates opened for you. And yet, you understand that this is not where you will stay. The mission ahead is the arena where his promise will prove itself over and over again. He lifts his hand, and for the last time, his blessing flows over you like a river of light. It wraps around your crown, courses through your mantle, settles into your scroll, and burns deep into the seal within you. It is as if his very breath becomes the wind that will carry you forward. There are no more instructions now, no new commands, no additional warnings, only the unshakable certainty that the one who sends you will never leave you. The king's final promise is not a document to carry, not a signet to wear. It is his own presence bound to you for all eternity. You turn back toward the road, your spirit steadied, your heart burning, and your steps sure. The final promise echoes within you, not as a fading word, but as an unending truth. And with that, you walk on into the calling that has been prepared, into the battles that will be won, into the story that will be told for generations to come. And as you move forward, the road ahead seems to part before you, not because it is free from resistance, but because every obstacle knows who walks with you. The promise you carry is like a song only your spirit can hear, steady, unwavering, and full of hope. You sense that long after this day, when your hair is silver and your strength has waned, the final promise will still burn just as brightly within you. It is more than memory, it is your lifeline. And so you step forward, not merely sent, but forever bound to the King who called you, chosen one. You have walked the halls of the throne room, felt the crown settle on your head, received the mantle of authority, held the scroll of destiny, and heard the King's final promise. These are not just words you've listened to, they are a living commission placed into your hands. The story you have stepped into is now yours to carry forward. But remember, no story like this is meant to be kept silent. Someone you know is waiting for the light you now bear. Share this message so it can travel farther than your voice alone could carry. Like it, so the truth you've encountered today can break through to others still in the shadows. Comment on this post with a declaration of your readiness, not just for yourself, but as a witness to the unseen realm that you choose to walk in obedience. Subscribe so that you remain connected to the stream of words, visions, and confirmations that will strengthen you for the journey ahead. And if the Spirit stirs you, sow into this work. Your giving is like placing one more lamp along the road for others who will follow this same path. Each seed ensures that the light of this message burns brighter and longer, reaching places and hearts you may never meet this side of eternity. The King's call over you is not a passing moment. It is the beginning of a lifetime marked by his presence and purpose. Every step from here is part of a story still unfolding, one that heaven has already written and that you are now living. Walk it well, for the gates of heaven have been opened for you, and the King himself has sent you forth